Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. And as usual, I'm sure we'll have some other people join us. I'm not anticipating too many of the faithful gathering here today. It is the Thursday before spring break, so usually that's when everybody hightails it out. But let's go over to the modules section. And on Tuesday, we talked about relational databases and using them. And today we're going to launch into the very first. There are 6 access cases that we're going to be working on, and those are over there. Chapter 4 in the Solve It textbook covers the introduction to database software. And I think we pretty much went through all of that. And then as we go along, you'll see about navigating and different things. There's some stuff that was so rudimentary I didn't think it was worth going over. Then chapter 5, which starts at 149, is Northampton abrasives. We're going to do that case. We're going to do, in fact, the first 6 cases there. And each week what we'll do is what I've done with the access cases. I'll go through it, show you how I've solved it, show you what you need to upload to get the workshop credit. Now, don't forget that we've also got, you've got 2 exams, the few chapters from the Stephen Few text, chapter 7 and 8, that quiz, and the one from 9 and 10. And I always want to remind you, if you see an item on one of these quizzes that you may have a question about, please email me. I would never, I'm not perfect. And when I load those in, I can always make a mistake. So please, if you have something like that, identify the quiz, the item, and I'll take a look at it. And if you're okay, if it needs to be changed, I can change everybody's scores basically if I need to. If not, then I'll try to give you an explanation for why. Now, again, we've worked with we did the introduction to relational databases, and a relational database is one in which we basically create tables where we store data, and then we link those tables together. Then we run what we call a query, and that's where we mine the data from those tables that we've collected. Now, sometimes we have to go out and get some data that are what we would call unstructured and put them into a rows and columns type of environment. Now, there are some other database technologies out there that can work with unstructured data, but they're pretty complicated, and you're never going to be dealing with that. What you'll be working with is the decision piece of all of this. But we try to show you everything that goes into administering a database, which is different than database management. Database management is really the programming piece, and you're not programmers, you're decision makers. So we want to show you the kinds of things we have to do to put a database together, and the key pieces of it, which are of course the table, a query, okay, a form, and a report. And then you have macros, and then you have macros and then modules. We're not going to mess with macros or modules because those move us into a thing called VBA. And when you go to work, your firm will, when you go to work, you'll probably be using some type of database proprietary client that already has all that for you. But we let you see what is involved with it. And the key piece about this is we'll spend a lot of time talking about 2 things. One is going to be the tables, which is the heart of everything. Why do we have that information? How do we store it? Okay. And then the queries system, and that is, why am I retrieving this? When do I retrieve it? And what does it tell me? And this goes back to this thing of the analytical cube, where we're trying to use queries to help us take data and create information. That's stuff that we can use for a decision. But it's got to be done right first if we're going to do the tables. So over on page 149 starts database case 1, and this is Northampton Abrasives. And as usual in the textbook, they tell us about the company and how it was founded and what they do and all that. And they are in the abrasives business. They sell machines and they sell chemicals that can be used to strip stuff like getting wood prepared to be painted, or strip a floor so it can be cleaned and waxed, that type of thing. And they give you some more information about that. And then, as usual, they break into this issue of, gee, we need a database so we can keep track of all this. And so as we go past, they talk about using Access as a package. And there are several. Let me say this: if you understand Access, you pretty much understand how everything else works that's out there, because everything else that works that's out there, proprietary databases, work like Access. Okay, and that meaning that you have things like a toolbar, you have icons. You're not doing a lot of programming. The first databases I ever worked on, you was just strictly writing programs. Okay, so things have changed considerably for the better. Well, if we take a look there at the middle of page 151, we're going to see the first piece of this, and that is they tell us, okay, we want a table, okay, and sometimes people will confuse a database with a table. A table is just a part of a database, okay? But here they're saying they want a prototype system, if you will, and they have some information there, and I've edited it out. Now, what we're going to do is go over here and we'll go to the files section, okay? And we're going to get the we're going to get the file to work on. Now, before I go any further, let me make sure I point this out to all of you. To get credit for the workshop, there's really two things you need to do. One is you need to watch the work. You need to go through the workshop, watch us what we do. You can even try to work along, okay? And the other thing is then upload the file, okay, for that. For example, here is a file that you can upload for Access case number 1. Now, just by way of housekeeping, access cases 1, 2, 3, and 4 are not due till the 26th of April. But we're going to be working ahead, okay? And I always try to anticipate that we might hit a problem with something. Who knows? So after we do some work today, okay, then you'll want to upload that there. And it'll be this is like what we do with the Access. We may move faster. I'm just not sure. Now, again, we're at week 6. Of course, next week is no class. All right. So we'll be back a week from Tuesday. It'll be our online session, and then the Thursday session. Now, let's go into the files section. I didn't mean to take us into a long segue there. I'll click on that, but I want to make sure you understand I've got several files there that you can upload for credit. I also have them there for another reason, not just upload the credit. I have them there so you can see some examples of tweaking and work that I've done with them. Because when I work through these cases, sometimes I'll see something I like and I think that works. So you can kind of get a feeling of how they've been put together and what we've done with them. And you're going to see some of that today as we work through this case. Now, let's see here. I want to show you a couple of them. Here's one, okay? And now, it may be a little confusing at times when you may see, because I'm sharing my screen, some things that are blanked out, like that Access companion content. If you're seeing that, it's only because I'm sharing the screen. If you're in student view, you may not see it. So I don't plug into student view. I assume that the sharing shows you. But here, for example, this is Access case 1. Okay, I've done that one. Here's another one that I worked on. Let's see here. Here's another. Okay. I had one the other day, I think, that I uploaded, but it was in the other section. And, I may, let's see what else do I have any others in there that I uploaded for you. And we'll do one today that's not a big deal. And also, you know, in all, when all else, well, I'm going to have this stuff loaded there for you. And I will always tell you, here's, save it to your desktop. We've been through that bit. Now, we're going to come over here for, and go to the Solvit 6.0 solution files, and let's download that, okay? And that, the solution files has all of the different database cases for the textbook and a solution. Now, let me say this, okay? While the authors do a nice job with a lot of this, there's much about this. There are other things, bells and whistles, data, etc., that I add in for you. So there are going to be some times when what we produce will not look like what they produced here. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to diminish my browser. So I've got my desktop, and there he is. He's waiting. It's not too many days before the first day of Major League Baseball. He is no longer in the Tetons. He's down in Florida with the Cardinals at Jupiter, Florida. Now, that being said, we're going to go over to Northampton. Okay, if they're here. There they are. And I'm going to just simply throw it on my desktop. Okay. And it's Northampton. And now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to call it Northampton Harmon Keith. Okay. Now let's open it up. Okay. And what I'm trying to do is to help you avoid the scourge of a system file. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make sure, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to save this. It's going to let, yeah, I'm going to save it as database. I'm put it on my desktop. This is just to make sure I'm over in the native environment of whatever device. All right, and we'll enable the content, and away we go. Now, I should have Northampton ready to go here, and let's open it back up.
I said, I think I'll go to Kansas. So she started saying that, but then she goes like, I can't. She said, I can't.
And I'm going to mute everybody because I'm hearing some talk and singing and so forth. And whoever it is, you have a good voice, but I don't think you'll make it on American Idol.
But no, so mine.
All right, now we're gonna go over here to the shutter bar. It has tables, and click all access objects. All right, and we're gonna see, all right, the Northampton, and we have that table case 1. Okay, and I have an answer file. Let's click on the answer file and open it up for just a second. Okay. And we're going to see a full-bodied table that meets all the requirements of the system or the table that they want. And we're going to see the following. We've got a company ID. Okay. It's here. We've got company ID. We've got their address, the city, the state, the zip, the last name, the department, the title, product group, and product and order pattern. Okay, now there are going to be some of these things where we're going to want to automate them as best we can, and so we're going to talk a lot and we'll take a look at a couple of examples of that. But now this view that we're on right here is at the data sheet view. If I want to go down to the design view, I'll click here, and let's talk about what we're seeing. First of all, we start with the company ID, and you're going to see it has a thing up here called, it's a primary key. A primary key does this. It makes sure that every record is unique. If we have duplicate records in the database, we've got junk. Okay? We're paying more money. And if you start to talk a large firm that's got 10 million pieces of data, or somebody's got 50 or 100 million, this becomes real money. The other problem is you run a report and you get all kinds of anomalous looking stuff. So you always want to make sure every record is unique. And we do this in this case by giving each company an ID. Okay? Now, here in this company, we've used a number, okay? And we come down here to a thing called the field properties, and if you'll take a look, you'll see it says, is it required? Yes. All right. And it says, is it indexed? Yes. The indexing is a way that the machine can do a faster, more efficient search, and it doesn't necessarily start at row 1 and go all the way down. It might go to, if it's like last names or something alphabet or something that use alphabetical characters, it will go to the cluster, because things tend to cluster, like last names tend to cluster together. The odds of your last name ending with an H, an I, or J, or K are far greater than the odds of it ending with an A or with a Z. So we want to make sure. The key part is that it's required. There is no point, okay, in inputting data or having these data if they're not required, because if you don't require them and somebody doesn't put them in, then you have a bunch of blank data. You have a bunch of blank fields in your report, and you can have some really unhappy people, okay? The other thing is the challenge that you have, it's not as great as it used to be, is who's inputting the data. Most of the time, if you have an e-commerce or digital presence of some type, the customer, your stakeholder, will be inputting the data themselves. Okay, it's rare that you'll have your own personnel inputting data. Okay, but if you do, there are some things that you want to take. Now, one of the things I don't like about this system is that with the numbers, you can really mess up. Now they have an ID system, okay, that goes 24. The only thing that will keep you from having a problem is the yes no duplicates. Now, if it was me, what I would do is I would choose what we call an auto number that generates an automatic number. Okay, so you just and the record won't save if you don't put it in there. But you accomplish the same thing here. If you accomplish the same thing here if you go ahead and require it. So far, so good. Now we're going to go to the company, and this is called short text. Here's where the problems begin. The company, this is a list of my customers, and incredibly enough, I'm stupid enough not to require this. So I'm going to put in yes. You saw, and remember, we talked about tables. Garbage in, garbage out. You heard that, and I can tell you for sure, you don't want to have those kinds of problems. So on the company, we want to require it. And we come down here, allow zero length, and we're going to put no. We don't want it to be left blank. We have no such thing as a blank company. Do we want it indexed? Let's go ahead and we'll put yes. Okay. And we're going to stay. We're going to be a little bit liberal and say duplicates are okay. You say, well, why would you do that? Well, we may have the Smith company that decides to have several locations, and since they do, we want to be okay as far as having duplicates. Okay, and then we'll have some other things that will differentiate. But the key thing is the fact that we'll have a company ID, okay? So Smith Company might have 5 locations, 20 locations, but they'll all have their own unique ID, which is okay because that way we keep them straight. Now, we'll come down to the address, all right? And here's another one. Incredibly enough, yeah, let's get a customer but not know their address. Makes tons of sense. You say, have you seen stuff like this out in the real world? All the time. Makes me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. And I won't go into the details except to say, if you are collecting it one way or the other, whether the end user puts the data in or you have people you hire to input data, you're paying for it. And why pay for nothing? Get your money's worth and make sure that you get the address. It's insane not to. Zero length required? No, because there's no such thing as a zero length address. That's stupid. Those are blanks. Indexed. I don't know that we want to index those. We'll leave those be. and not mess with them. Now we want to come to city. Okay, here we are again. Oh mercy. We're going to make sure it's required, and we don't allow zero length. Now when we put in like required, yes, what this means is that when a field is required, the record won't save until that field is completed. So if you want a complete set of records, this is the easiest way to do. Now I can tell you, and I'm not even going to name the entity, but they'll rely on volunteers to input data, and because they have not done what I asked them to do, and that is force requirements on everything, because the volunteers don't want to take the time. They have tables full of missing information, okay? And then the insanity of once a year having somebody call or write to say, do we have your correct phone number? Do we have the correct information on you? If you had that data in the first place, you're calling and say, you might get their phone number. Usually we'd get the phone number, but we didn't get the address. So we'd call them up and go, what's your address? That's a little awkward. So, and doesn't make you look too good. So we're going to put state is required. That would be required, okay? And allow zero length, no way. I'll put no, okay? I've been putting no there. Again, garbage in, garbage out. The zip code, here comes one of those issues where you can really get into just a wild kind of thing. So you click on the zip code and come down here and look, and you'll see a thing called an input mask down in the field properties. Click that, and if you come all the way over to the right, click that. Now, so we save the table first, yes, yes. And now we can make sure that the zip code is entered in a proper way. What we want is, okay, the first 5 digits and then the last 4 digits. And, you know, the last 4 digits are becoming more and more important and prevalent simply because so many times streets in adjoining towns will have this. They'll have like there's a Southwest 28th in Oklahoma City, there's a Southwest 28th in Moore, and if you don't have the last 4 digits, stuff ends up in different places. So we want to have the zip code in that format, and they'll even let us try it. Okay, and we put in, and you can move that, go over there and put it in. So we finish that, and we have the input mask. Okay. And again, is it required? Yes, it is required. Do we allow zero length? No. And is it indexed? We're not going to index it. We won't worry about it. Now, there is one, well, the zip code here is done correctly. A lot of times people will make a zip code into a number, which it's not. A zip code is a category. It identifies a place. It's not a mathematical property. And I've seen people put zip codes in and try to save them as numbers, and then they end up with all kinds of issues. Let's come down here to last name. Is that required? Why should we know the name of our customer? We're stupid. So let's put yes. Okay. And then we'll put allow zero length. No. Do we want it indexed? We can live without it. First name. Required? Yep. You say, do you really see databases this sloppy? All the time. All the time. And it's because folks don't understand, if you don't get the tables right, things aren't right. It's just like, it's just if you cook and you got bad ingredients, you're going to have a bad meal, okay? So it's the same thing with a database. If you don't design it properly, you got problems. The spouse name, they want you to have their spouse's name here, and this is so you can call and all this business. So let's get the spouse name. Okay. Now I'm afraid what this is a column that contains 2 elements. See, what we should have is the spouse last name and then the spouse first name. Okay. But so we'll take a look at that, and we may just dump this and get rid of it, but we'll see. But it's required. And allow the zero length, no. Okay. And then we'll come down to department, and we're going to make that required. And zero length, no. And we kind of have an issue here in terms of the indexing. We're going to leave that be. Let's see here. Let's go to title, okay, and let's require that, although that's going to be a dimension that will become a problem for us. In other words, this is going to be something we're going to be constantly updating. Index, no, but that's okay. Now, last order, okay, that format is in a date or a time, okay, and so we're going to come down here and we're going to click on input mask, because I want those dates put in a particular way. And we can use a long date, a short time, a medium time, or a medium date. Okay. And so we're gonna do the short date. Okay. And that you can click down, you'll see how it's going to look. And we're good to go. Now, is it required? Yeah, why not? And is it indexed? We're not going to worry about indexing it. And then product group. And that product group is required. Yes. And we allow zero length. No. And no indexing, and mess with that. And then the order pattern. And the field size is 1. Now, here is where now, strictly speaking, since the order pattern, as the book says, is going to be, what is it? Stable, increasing, or decreasing, we're okay. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that, well, let's leave it there, because I'm afraid we may get a surprise when if we don't have the two digits, two characters. So we'll leave it at that, but that could be a problem down the road. Is it required? Yes. Okay. Allow zero length? No. So far, now what we've done so far is we've said, okay, here's the information I want, all these fields, okay, for this table. And then I've said, okay, well, what type of data am I going to put in there? And then how am I going to control the input? And so we've gone through that. So let's go back up to the data sheet view, and I can do that one of two ways. I can right click, or I can go up here in the far left hand corner and look at that. We'll save the table. Okay, and there we be. Now, as we start to work with these, all right, I want to show you what we're talking about, and we're going to do a record, okay? And I'm going to put in new client D, okay? And I'm going to put 666 Elm Street. And that's going to be in Shawnee. And that's in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And the zip code, and I'll have to move this back a little bit, is 74804. And then the last four digits are 6666. Freddy Krueger's number. In fact, it's his business. How do you know? Well, here he is. Krueger. If you don't know who Freddy Krueger is, he is a great actor. Well, what can I say? Nightmare on Elm Street. What a franchise. Now, the spouse's name is Elvira. And you've seen her probably in some commercials. You meant for Northampton case 1, company ID. All right. And I'm going to, and her the department, he is the CEO. And his title, oh, wait a minute here, I messed this up. His department is executive office. I'm sorry. And he is CEO. Okay. And we have the last order date was Halloween, 11, I guess 30, I forget what the exact date is, 2009. And he buys saws from us. Ooh. And his order pattern is increasing. Now there's one thing I've got left, and I've got to give this a number, okay? And if I don't, it's not going to let me save the record. So I'm going to put in he's 10029, 10029. Okay. And now I'm ready to go back and close this off. I'm going to say, let's see, I want to click on here, diminish this down, and I want to save it, and I want to close it. Okay. Then we'll go back to the navigation pane and open it back up, and there it is. And now we've put together a pretty decent table. Now there are a couple of things that we want to do since we're building the table that will help us out a lot. When we build a table, we also we look at stuff that can be duplicated or comes from a set list. For example, the state. We know that there are, 50 states, all right? And I wouldn't have any more fun spelling Massachusetts than you would. And I don't know, I get confused, is Alabama AL or is that Alaska? Is AK Alaska or is that Arkansas? You get my drift. So we can build a lookup table that helps us have a drop-down menu that fills that out, and we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and close this off, okay? And I'm going to diminish this, all right? I'm going to go back up to my browser, and I'm going to go to a new browser, and I'm going to get a list of state abbreviations, okay? And here's a list here's the postal list. They give us more, a list of 50 state abbreviations. There they are. Now here's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to get all of them. We're going to do a little data wrangling, as they say, and let's see what happens. All right, I'm going to copy those. Now I'm going to go down and I'm going to find Excel. And I'm going to open up Excel. All right. And I'm going to open up an Excel sheet, and I'm going to click Paste Special, and I'm going to put this in as text. Let's see what we get. Ah, nicely done. Now, all of this is over in column A, and so it's a little bit awkward because what we want to do is separate the states from their abbreviations. So we're going to do that. We're going to highlight all of these down to 50. Okay. Let me do this. This 51, this line of 52, get rid of it. And then we're going to come down and we're going to start at 1. I'm going to insert, let's insert a line. And we're going to put, we'll leave it for now. We'll fill those in where we're ready to go. Now I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to go on line 2, and I'm going to come all the way down now to what I think should be line 51. And then I'm going to click data, okay? And you're going to see, and I just have to remember this, I believe it's going to be text to columns. We're going to split this column. Now, it says delimited. We're good with that. We'll go next. And the delimiter is going to be this. We'll click other, and it's going to be this mark And notice when you look down in the window, two nice columns. So like I said before, Access has some database tools and properties in it, although it's not designed for that. We'll click next, and we'll click finish, and there it is. Isn't that pretty? Easily done. So now we have the state, and we'll put that, and then in column B we'll put abbreviation. Okay? And now we're going to take this file and we're going to save it on our desktops. And I'm going to save it on my desktop as list of states. I'm called list of state abbreves. Okay? So I've got the list of state abbreviations. I'm going to click save on my desktop. And I'm good. And there we are. We have the state, we have the abbreviation, and we're good. We'll close that off. And we're going to go back now to the database. One of the things that you will not have to do, okay, but your database administrator will, and I want to show you some of these so you understand how helpful they are to you, is to take data and wrangle them into your system. That might be, for example, you buy another company out and you need to integrate your database, or in this case we need what we would call a table of constants. We're doing a little wrangling, clean them up, and get them ready, and bring the herd home. So we're going to click external data, okay, and I'm going to click import and link, and I'm going to click Excel. And I'm going to go down and browse for my data down on my desktop, and I'll find it. Here's the list of state abbreves. I click OK, and then I'm going to import the data. Now, make sure you click first row contains headings, and we'll click next, and then next, and we'll let Access add a primary key, and we'll click finish. And there we are. So there's our table now. Now it's called Sheet 1. So I'm going to rename it State Abbreves. Okay? And now let's do this. And once we've renamed it, let's open it up and look at it. And there it is. Isn't that pretty? I've got the ID, the state, and the abbreviation. You say, oh, okay, what's the point? Well, here we go. Now that we have this table, and this table again is what we call a table of constants. This is, these are states, and we may be using some other tables that have state data in it, and so we can use this over and over. The information's here. Another would be a table that contains prices. Another would be a table that contains the names of employees or salespeople, models of a product, etc. Anytime we can automate input into a table using a table of constants, we're much better off. Now I'm going way beyond what the text is here, but I think in seeing the example, you kind of get what I'm talking about. And you're so used to dealing with drop-down menus that it's good for you to see where they come from. So we're going to close this off, and we're going to go back here to our answer file, and we're going to go down to the design view. Okay, we're going to click state, and if you come down to the field properties, you'll see the general field, and then you see a little tab called lookup. Click that, and it'll say display control. We're going to use a combo box. Okay, and this says a combo box, a table query, and it says what's the row source, and click there. And when you click on the row source into that, you're going to see a little square with 3 dots. And what we're going to literally do is we're going to run a query to pull data into this column so that we can automate that process. And there's create a drop-down menu. So I'm going to click State Abbreviations and click Add and close it. Now, I want to put these in the proper order, and I want to put the abbreviation because that's what will show up, and then the state. Okay, when we do this, what shows up is the machine will work left or right, because most people in the Western culture who develop these read left or right. So I'm gonna have the abbrev over here and then the state, and I'm gonna click Run Little Buddy, just like I'd say if I was watching Forrest Gump, and there we are. And that shows us the output. Now I'm gonna close it off and we'll say yes, yeah, I'm good. And then we'll see the query, pardon me, the structured query language, the SQL there to create that row source. Now we have a bound column, and you come down to the thing that says column count, and we're going to put 2. All right, and then we're going to put column widths, and we're going to put 1 inch. Okay, 1 with a double quote, and then we're going to do a semicolon, and then we're going to put 2 inches. Okay, and I think we're ready to go. So we're going to go back up to the data sheet view. So you want to save the table? Yes, we do, and we'll baptize it later. Okay, so now we've got the state, and take your cursor over here and put it, go to the very top where it says state, and move it over. Okay, click in there, and you'll see, isn't that nice? A little drop-down menu. Now this is the same thing Google does when you're out there, when you're back home, and you Google dirty, and then it'll give you dirty movies, dirty songs. I know what you people are. I'm praying for you. But it's the same story. It just pulls from a lookup table and it resolves those for you. In this case, it's the state. This just makes this much easier, okay? And you want to make sure you have as much data integrity as possible. Now, it's a little more complicated and we won't do it, but there are folks out there who will have a lookup table of valid zip codes, okay? You say, why would you do that? Well, there are people out there who are competing against you who will come in and they'll put in bogus data to make you waste your time chasing ghost customers, that kind of thing. So we've got the state there, and you say, well, that's cool. Could we do it with the departments? Certainly. Could we do the titles? Could we do it with anything else over here? Let's close this off, and we've got 2 things we can use, okay? And one of them, the last order, that's not it, but it's product group and order pattern. We could do that. We could go in and create a lookup table for product group, and we could also do that for the order pattern, okay? So that we'd have a drop-down menu for the product group, okay? And so we'd know what it is. Not a big deal, easily done. But I wanted to show you just this one where we've got the last order, but product group and order pattern, I would also do those as well, okay? And again, so that I know what a G is, an S, and an O, I know an I, and an S, and a D is, and all that business. I don't think it's necessary to repeat it, okay? I guess we could if we wanted to, but you know, you've seen us do that. But yeah, let's just go ahead and do it so we get the thrill of it. So let's close this table. I'll click yes, and let's click create, and you'll see the thing that says table design, okay? And let's click that. All right, and the field name, and let's see, we're wanting to do the field name will be, let's put product group ID, okay? And I'm going to make this an auto number, okay? Then we'll have this, and so we have that saved. We have the product group ID. And then we're going to have the, let me spell it right, excuse me. Okay, and then the, well, we've got the product, well, we've got the IDs, we got the auto numbers. So we're ready to go. So let's go back up to the table view, pardon me, up to the data sheet view. And we'll save this. Okay. Wait a minute. I have the ID. I need the product groups. Pardon me. Hang on a minute. I said product group. I have the ID, so I need the product group. And we'll do a short text for it. And we're going to put required. Yes. Allow zero length. No. Now, the reason that we made product group ID an auto number, although we only have a few of them, is that this is going to grow. And eventually what it probably would grow into would be just a product table that lists all of the products that we have. Okay. And so we want to be able to do that fairly easily without getting ourselves into a big hassle. But, you know, again, you know, we may end up with we probably would end up with a product table, or we'd have the product group ID, the product group, the product, information about the product. So you just kind of have to prepare for that eventuality down the road. So you got the product group, short text, required, yes, zero length, no, we're not going to index it. And now we're ready to go upstairs. We'll save it. And we're going to call this product group. An original name. And bingo. Okay, well, let's cancel this. Let's make this a primary key. So how do I do that, Dr. Harmon? I click on the little line there for the field, and then click primary key. And there it is. Now, access will play nice with us. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put this in, and the product group, they have G, and we're going to put this in parentheses. Let's just go ahead and do that, and then we'll put the G, and then the S, and then the O. All right. So let's go back down to the design level, and we want to put the product group, and then we'll put the product. I was prophetic as I saw what we were going to do to ourselves. The product. And that'll be short text. Going to be required. Zero length, excuse me, not allowed. Indexed, no. So we'll go back up. Ask us to save it. Yes, I know. Okay, now on the product, this is going to be grinders or just grinder. Okay, and then S would be a saw. All right, and this will be other. Now, what will probably happen if this was out in the real world is eventually I'd start to get G1, G10, G20, I'd start to get some kind of numeric system growing out of these three product groups. Okay, so I might end up with a product group, product number here, and then the product, and this is really should be called product description. So let's go back into the design view, and we're going to call that product description. So it's quite clear what we're dealing with. All right, and so now we have our product group put together, and we've got the table, and now we're ready to go. We'll save it. We'll close off. Now we're going to go back to the shutter, and we're going to open up this answer file, and we're going to go to design view. All right. And we're going to come down to product group. Okay. And in this, we're going to click look up, and we're going to do a combo box. And this will be a row source, and we'll of course click on row source, and then click on the square with the 3 little dots, and we're going to get product group. We're going to add it. Okay. And now what we're looking at right here is what's called the graphic user interface, and this is what you typically are looking at when you're running a query. For example, if you go to Amazon, go to buy books, you're working with one of these. They just pretty it up with icons and hide some of the back office stuff. But this is pretty much what we're at. We're going to get the product group first, and then the product description. Okay, and I'm going to run that query, and there it is. And I have the product description and the product group. So I know how to assign these when it becomes necessary. And I'll close it off and say yes. And there's our SQL or SQL for that row source. And we're going to go back up to the data view, go up to the top, and now we'll come over here and we're going to look at the product group. We'll smudging this out a bit, and we should hopefully have a, oh, I know what I did. Go back down to product, and I didn't mess this up. I've one bound column. I always get ahead of myself with this. One bound column, a 2-column count, and not 22. And then we're going to get the column widths, and we're going to have 1 inch, semicolon, 2 inch. Okay? Now we're ready to see them. I will go back up, save it, and we can close off that shutter window or push it back, and we'll put this out, and we'll take our product group, and now I should have a nice drop down. Isn't that pretty? That's nice. Now, let me say this also. This is not only something for fun and convenience, but also you're going to have the great pleasure some point in your life of supervising employees who'll come in Monday who've had way too much way too much alcohol, way too many domestic disturbances, and so forth. And on Monday, they're not ready to work. And so you're going to have to idiot-proof as much stuff as you can, especially with databases, to deal with that, okay? And people like Amazon, for example, they go to great lengths to make sure that you don't mess yourself up. And it's the same thing with the table here. So you want to make this as easy and useful as possible and descriptive so people know what they're looking at. You say, now, could we go through and do the order pattern? Yes, but I'm not that compulsive. So you've seen us do a lookup table. Now you've done a drop-down menu, and you're looking good. So we'll drop this down, close that off, and we've concentrated on the table now. Let me see where we are in terms of today's time. All right. So far, so good. You have to have a magic 75 minutes of instruction. Now let's go over to the navigation pane. All right. And if we go into the textbook, page 150, 151, at the bottom page 151, they give you all the tasks. Okay. And then they give you some more tasks at the top of 152. They have you go through and print a listing of the table. They have you go through and edit some of the data. That's step 3 at the top of 152. And then they want to report, they want you to run a query. We're going to do a little bit of that, but before we do it, we're going to do the next step in terms of collecting our data. And when we build a table, okay, and we do it effectively, that's the first step. This next step is to build a form. So I'm going to go in here, okay, and pop this guy up. And I'm going to click on Create. And I'm going to do, come over to More Forms. And I'm going to do a split form. Why? Because we just finished the Winter Olympics and they did splits and all kinds of stuff. That's as good a reason as any, isn't it? And look at this. Isn't that pretty? Now you say, why in the world would you have that? Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, when I make changes in the table via the form, I can see what's happening. The other is this. Imagine I have a call center for customer service where people call in. And when they call in, okay, can I get your customer ID or can I get your name? Qualify to make sure you're a bona fide customer, etc. They'll have this table and it's laid out for them. It pops up. And so I have this form here where I can search. I can add new records if I care to. I can I can scroll front and back, etc. So this is a very nice little tool. And the nice part is that if I add a new record, I see that new record appear in the table as well as the form. And the form is nice. It's a little bit easier to look at. Plus, if I have empty space over here, I can do stuff like put in pictures of my puppy or stuff like that. Okay. Have links to my favorite sports sites. Who knows? So this split form is a way that I use to input data into the table as opposed to putting data into the table down in the raw form. So that's why we have, and so we're going to save this. And we've created this. It's called Northampton. I'll say yes, and yep, we're good. And there's the form. Okay, so we've created a form. You work with forms all the time. Let me show you one. I'll just take this down and show you a few. Let's go back up here. Let's go to Amazon. This is nothing but a series of forms. Amazon uses actually what we call a recommendation engine, okay, where they're pushing products. They push two kinds of products, three. Stuff they have a deal on, okay, or make a lot of money off of, okay, because let me look. If I don't get Fire 7 Kids Edition, I'm not going to be happy. Or I may want Echo Spot, who knows. If I click on that, I'll get stuff about that for the next 50 years. Or fun gifts, I definitely need that owl pin, to wear to church and put on my coat thing. That'll look cool. As you can see, and things they think I might buy now, related items I viewed. Okay, so they're recommending and say, "Hey, man, welcome back. Take a look. You may want to buy it." Okay, so away we go. Okay, and again, this is a form where I choose one of these. Now it's beautifully laid out because it has an icon, and then they'll start to walk me to the final destination, which is here, the cart. Okay, so we use forms all of the time. Well, let's go back up here to the top to the database, and we've done it, and now we have a couple of queries. And in task, they talk about task number 5, and let's look at this. Print all the records in the table, including the company city last order date. Okay, they want us to run a query, and let's go into the design view, okay, of the query. And what we'll see up here is the table. You say, could I add other tables? Yes. And one of the cases we're going to link two tables. We can link tables indefinitely, and that's what makes databases so powerful. And that's how we build that, we can exploit that analytic cube, what we call it. Now here, I'm getting the following data from them, okay? I'm getting the company, the city, the last name and the first name and the title of my customers, okay? Now, if I wanted to limit it to anybody who has the title of CEO, I'm going to put like CEO, and let's see what I get. I think I know what I'll get. And I want to run this Joule. How strange. Oh. Okay, let's go to the data sheet view. There it is. And there's my new client. Okay, and that's Freddy Krueger. So we pulled the database, we queried the database and got that information from it. Now, let's go down to the thing called the SQL view or the SQL view, and this is the code. And this is what we call command. It's easy stuff to use, not that big of a deal. Most of us are going to be working up here at the design level. Okay. Now, if I don't put in like CEO, I'll just get everybody. And I'll go back up to the data sheet view, and there it is. Okay. So we've done task 5. We have all these people, and what they're going to ask us to do is to put this into a report function. Now, we can generate a report with this, okay? But I'm just going to tell you now, the report function and Access I hate it. I think it's clunky and hard to use. So I probably would do is I would probably just simply take this and export it. I probably take it and export it to Excel and then bump it into Word so it can be prettied up. We can try, we can mess with this, and we'll just do this. Let's generate the report, and I'll let you learn the hard way. Let's click Create, and we'll come over here and we'll see the report wizard. This is not an endorsement of the occult. I've written Microsoft several times and said, take the word wizard out of all of these. We're a Christian organization. They're not listening. But I've done my best. Now we want to get the query task 5, so we're going to get all the fields. We're going to click Next, Next, and Next, and we're going to put it into a landscape view because we have a little bit of data there. Next, and we'll finish, and there it is. That's not too bad because I have enough space in landscape to handle the columns. What sometimes occurs is I have so many fields that I have to abandon just a straight tabular format and put things staggered, and then I have to make some choices. We'll see that as we go along. So we've generated a report, and it's nice. Now, if you want to, you can click on. We'll go to the layout view, and here I can click on that, and instead of I can lengthen that. I can change the thing. And I'm going to put, I'm going to call that, let's see, go back to layout view. I'm in there now. And I don't want to save this. I don't want to save the changes. No. I'll go back in here to task 5. And we'll go to layout. Maybe I need to go to design view with this jewel. I think that's probably going to have to do. And I'm going to call this customers list. Yeah, I had to go to design view. That's a little bit deep. Now, this can be a little bit intimidating. Let me scroll this down so you can see it. You say, what is this all about? What's going on here? In the design view, in Access, what you see is what a graphic designer works with, because they're all focused about stuff looking nice and pretty and orderly. So you have these lines, you have the dots, etc., so you can make things really, really pretty and really nice. Now, on the design view, I can also go ahead and work with these fields. I have things called details. Okay, I have a page footer, a report footer. And the details, that's the data. Those are what we call unbound text boxes. A little bit ahead of where we want to be. Let's go back up and look at the report view. And there we be. And not bad. Okay. So we've done that. We'll say yes. Now, task number 6, and I think this is the last one that we're going to come upon. And let's see. Well, we might run a few more queries just to do some work with it. let's go and let's click task 6, and let's go into the design view. Now in task 6, okay, and this is over there in the book, they want us to get everybody who's in Kansas City. So what we do is, all right, we go ahead and we create the query, and we'll do the create, and then we put it into design view. And notice we've got the company, the first name, the last name, the title, the city, and we've got Kansas City. Okay. Now, I have a couple of more things I probably want to get. And that would be, I'm going to get the last order. And I'm probably going to get product group and order pattern. Why? Well, it's just good information for me to have. And I'm going to go ahead and go up to the data sheet view. And there I can see, the product groups, and see how that nice drop down came. Well, we didn't drop down the order pattern, but the other looks nice. And we had the last order. Okay. Now, there are going to be some times when I'm going to have some queries that I'm going to work. I'm going to have some situations where I want to work do numerical computation. Okay. And there's going to be some times when I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a table, okay, bump it out into Excel, export it, put in the data analysis, do the data analysis that I need to do, and then dump it back in to my client, in this case being Access. The reason being is the database is not designed to do computational work. It's designed to collect stuff and pull stuff that you've got. Okay, now I've got my Kansas City folks, and I'm going to do another thing here. Let's go back down to the design view and take a look. I want to show you something. If you come down to this design view and you take a look where it says city, and we put Kansas City, but notice that it's not checked. We didn't check it because we want to hide that. Now, I'm going to do another thing with this to make sure that we have no mistake of what it is. But by doing this, we don't have just Kansas City, okay? There's a better way to do this. We're going to close this off, say yes, and I'm going to click task 6, and I'm going to rename that query, and I'm going to call it Kansas City clients. Okay? And we'll open it up, and there it is. Now I know, okay, well, who are these people? Well, they're Kansas City clients. Oh, okay. But I still have this designator down here, but I hid it. Now, if I click on there, it'll show back up. I'll go back up to the data sheet view. You see how let's see how redundant that looks. It's just ignorant looking. So you want to get that out. You still will get the same results. You're just going to hide that. So go down to the design view. Okay. That's pretty much the 6 tasks. In fact, we went a little bit beyond what they asked us to do. And the remainder of that chapter, chapter 5, is a tutorial, and we've pretty much done all of that. Now, let's do it. Let's try to do another couple of queries. I'm going to close this off, okay, and say yes. Oh, did I get their last order? Yes, I have that. Let's go back up to the data sheet and make sure we do. We do. We want to do something. We want to do this. Let's go back down to the design view. And on the last order, I want to put that in, let's see, from descending would be the last order. Yeah, so we're going to put that in descending order. Let's see what that looks like. Now, this isn't that big of a deal, but if I had 1,000 of these, that becomes crucial. Okay, so the last time they ordered from us was the 15th of September. So if we're there over there in October, we go, hey, it's been a couple of weeks. How's everything going? Before I go over November, you get my drift. Okay, now at this stage of the game, we've pretty much done what we needed to do with this. And I'm going to close this table. So are there any other queries I want to run? I'm going to close this query out for a second. I'll say yes. And let's go back over here to the Northampton. And I want to see if let's run a query to find out who's increasing, whose sales are increasing. I'm going to close this off, click create, and we're going to do query design. And this is, we're going to get the Northampton answer file, like a add, okay? And I'm going to get the company, and I'm going to look at order pattern. And down here on criteria, I'm going to put in parentheses I, double quotes, excuse me. And let's go back up and take a gander and see. There we are. Now we have everybody whose order patterns are increasing. Now you say, why wouldn't I just go ahead and rename this query like we did the other one? So don't. Yes, we may do that. So we're going to go back down and to the design view, and we'll that off, and then it won't show up. We'll go back up to the data sheet view. It's still going to give us the data. Okay, and then we'll close this off. I'll say you want to save it? Yeah, and I'm going to call this increasing customers. It'll be a little bit too descriptive, but that's okay. And let's see, instead of I'm sorry, I'm going to call it customers with increasing sales. Okay, and that's pretty telegraphic, but that's okay. And there we are. And we know it's these folks who bought from us. So there's a lot of data we could get. Now, when we talk about running queries, okay, and this is a good time to talk about that, we'll just open this in design view. There are two types. First, there are what we call periodic or regular queries. These are queries that I need for daily operations. It's periodic data I collect. You know, how much I sold this week or how much I sold this month. Then we have what we call serendipitous queries, and those are where we just go through a database. We do some, like we did the what if scenarios when we worked with Excel. We go through and run some queries to see, what about this or what about that? What's the pattern here? What does the data look like here? That type of thing. And one of the things that you have to be wary of is that when folks get really powerful database clients, they get query happy and they'll run stuff all day long, whether or not it makes sense, okay? But the periodic queries that you run should have some type of tactical or strategic value or feed into one of those. And so when I have a client and I work with them, I sit down, and I usually work with churches now. I sit down and ask them, what are the 5 things you need to know every day? What do you need to know? And it's usually about a month, 2 months to get that answer out of them. Okay, and it's simply because they've never really thought about that. They've never really said, what are the 3 things? But I guarantee you, when you go to the doctor, they give you do an annual physical. They have a set of things that they know where problem areas may be, or stuff that are general indicators of your health. So it's the same way. If a company doesn't know that about what they've got in terms of all the money they spend to collect data, they're wasting a lot of time. All right, so we've got that one done. Now, at the product group, And again, let's see here. I got the product. We get that. Okay, we state abbreviations. Okay, we did a report. Now, I want to try something. Let's close this table. Okay, and then click on File. Okay, and click Options. And when you come down here, let's see, I don't mess with this as much, but there's going to be a little choice we have where we can have it open up a form, and we have a form that we can look at. So let's look at that. Let's see. Let's click on current database. I'm going to have to take a look at this and find it. I'm sorry, but there's a little we choose. We can choose here. General, and we can make a form pop up. Yikes! I should have been thinking about that this morning. Current database. Let's see if I can find it. You may find it out there yourself. Ribbon name. Let's see. Well, I know it's in here somewhere, and what you do is you just basically click it, and then when you open the database, the form will open up. So it gives it a little default. You'll probably find it in there. Like a doom cough. I don't mess with this as much, so I'm not finding it. Okay, I'll close this off then. And let's go ahead and let's close this. All right, and say yes. All right, now you're ready. Yeah, I'm getting rid of Amazon there. And what I want you to do, of course, is to make sure, diminish this down, make sure it's on your desktop, okay? And then you'll want to load the file, okay, where you need to put it for access case number 1. Now remember, you've got any one of a number of these you can take a look at, and I would encourage you to see what I've done, some different things with them as we go on. So let's click on the syllabus, which lists all the stuff that's due. And we'll go down here, and you'll find, here it is, upload ACC, it's Access Database Case 1. You see the file you worked on, you'd upload it here, okay? And you have that out of the way and take care of it. And then if you want, that's your insurance policy, to make sure you get the points for sitting through some portion or all of this. Then you can go back and look at some of the other ways I've tweaked it and messed with it a little bit. Okay, that'll pretty much do it, folks. All I can say is please be careful. We want to see you come back. And thank you so much. And I'll be doing some grading this weekend, but please be careful. And we will see you. I'll be online. We'll see you online a week from next Tuesday. Thanks a bunch.